The easiest question in the world. Love.
Okay.
The mind of God is not the mind of a human being. It is pure light, love, and compassion. It
Mm.
does not have anger or judgment or even expectation like we do. It just loves. And this is a
Mhm.
love that all near death experiencers speak about who've had positive NDEs, and it's about over 95%. And they talk about things like they say, imagine the 100 happiest moments of your life and put them all into one moment. You still don't come close. One guy said, think of the strongest love you've ever felt. Multiply that by 500 or 1,000, and that's what it feels like. It's a
Wow.
love so strong that even the word love is completely inadequate to describe it.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we're back at it again for another episode of Living Life Consciously. We have a special guest lined up for you today, and I don't want to waste any time. Let's just get into it. So, Justin, say hey.
Hey there, Cosmic Thrill Seekers. I'm Justin, and this is Living Life Consciously, where we explore the extraordinary, ride the waves of inspiration, and embark on an adventure of limitless curiosity together.
And I'm Leslie, your co-host, also known as Light Being Love, an eternal spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And I'm grateful to be here and to have David here with us, who I have seen many times in many interviews. And so I'm just super grateful that I'm here speaking with him today, with Allie and Justin. It's going to be awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm David Suich, and it's a pleasure to be on the show today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Same.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate everybody's time. And for our audience, meet David Suich, renowned near-death experience researcher, esteemed author, and compassionate spiritual counselor. With a passion ignited by a single YouTube video, David's quest for understanding has led him down a path of discovery spanning over 16 years, delving into the testimonies of over 1,200 individuals who have ventured to the brink of life and returned never changed. Explore the depths by diving into the pages of David's profound works, including the enlightening God Took My Clothes and the transformative compilation Death. These spellbinding books offer insights into the afterlife, celestial encounters, and the boundless potential of the human spirit. Prepare to have your perception shattered and your soul stirred as you journey through the realms of existence. Are you experiencing a spiritual awakening? Feeling adrift in a sea of uncertainty? David offers compassionate spiritual counseling services to guide you through the turbulent waters of transformation. Whether you're questioning old beliefs, experiencing vivid dreams, or undergoing a profound shift in perspective, David is here to provide support and understanding every step of the way. David, thank you so much for being here. You have an amazing background. There's so many different things that I would like to dive into, but let me ask you, where would you like to start?
Oh, I suppose we could start at the beginning. You
Okay.
mentioned it in the intro. I clicked on a YouTube video in 2007. I had come down with chronic tendonitis in my body. I had it for about 8 years at that time, and it was getting difficult to work. And I had it in my hands, my feet, and I even spent 3 years in a mobility scooter. And
Wow.
around about 2019, with many years of it, I miraculously healed.
Hmm.
But back then, I didn't see what was coming, which is often what causes us problems down here on Earth. And I clicked on a YouTube video about a guy who died, saw the afterlife, and returned. And it just sort of made me question everything and changed my whole perspective and started investigating near death experiences. And it just kind of snowballed. And here I am talking with you.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of snowballed. I mean, with those 1,200 different stories, I mean, that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot. How did you get into the research aspect of it?
Well, it started out that I couldn't keep quiet about it when I'd heard about these amazing stories, and people got
Yep.
real tired of hearing me. My family got real tired of hearing me talk about it,
Uh-huh.
and friends just didn't want to hear it anymore, and they didn't know if they should believe it or not. I think they thought I was going off on the deep end.
Okay.
And
I can relate.
Yeah, we can all relate to that, I feel like. Families are
but I've
not always supportive of the spiritual changes one goes through.
oh no, they're not.
Yeah.
And that's part of the challenge. So, but every once in a while, somebody would say, so and so, my neighbor's brother said he had an experience like that. And I would track these people down and talk to them.
Okay.
And that's how it got started. And then when I was writing my book, it snowballed even more because at the time that I wrote my book, I had only heard around 700. But, like I was going to buy a used car and the
Mhm.
salesman was missing an arm. And I didn't ask him what happened. I was going to be rude.
Yeah.
And he tells me, oh, I was water skiing and I fell and the boat behind me severed my arm. And he says, I arrived at the hospital DOA. I said,
Wow.
well, did you see yourself outside of your body from above? Did you go through a tunnel? Did you see this bright light? And he said, that happened to you too? He didn't tell anybody about it. I go, no, I'm writing a book about it. So we stopped what we were doing and he told me his whole story. So things like that. Yeah, been really great journey. A lot of people have opened up.
Now, let me
Amazing.
just, and forgive me for not knowing this, but you yourself have not experienced an NDE, right? You just study
No,
other people's.
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
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 So kind of like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, we're right behind you, I guess. I feel like I did it in a short span, but maybe that ties along with the increase of consciousness, and I feel like time itself has sped up, and I don't know, but something has come over me once I was exposed to the near death experience, and I haven't stopped researching. So
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I heard that from heaven that time is slowly accelerating
oh
as
wow,
part of a consciousness shift.
Oh, okay.
I can feel that.
Yeah.
I can
And
also
I think
relate.
it's
Oh,
part
sorry.
of going from third density to fourth density and fifth density.
Yeah, the
Yes.
frequency and the vibrations are faster.
Yeah.
Or
So fourth density, time is there, but it's malleable.
Mm.
Whereas in third density, it's fixed. Fifth density, it doesn't exist. So we're in that transition.
Enter in the age of Aquarius, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Precession of the equinox. Uh-huh.
Right. Yeah, we're at that really special time in Earth history to where I feel like there's an ascension on the planet of like us sentient beings, but Earth herself and her consciousness is also going through an ascension. So I just think this is like an amazing time to be alive. Like if you really think about it, this is a wild time to be here,
Yeah.
guys.
it's awesome.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, Mother Earth's going through the same process, and really, it's the whole galaxy. The whole consciousness is raising, and Earth is kind of the key to all of that. So, of course, Mother Earth is going to be raising her consciousness, and then the other neat thing about this time, how crazy it is to be alive here, even though it's going to be a chaotic time, we are now in a very special time in history in the big cycle, in that the energy of love, the measurable quantum multidimensional energy of love that is the source of God and everything in existence, that is now dominant on planet Earth. Fear dominated in the past,
That is
and now the
true.
love is dominant. So as we move forward, what we're going to see, in my opinion, is that every organization, every business, every government, every financial institution, any multinational corporation that isn't based on love and integrity is either going to have to change to be based on that or it's going to crumble. And it's part of the new world of love that's coming.
Wow.
I am here for it.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I can't wait to usher in this new era. You
Same.
know. Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid of it because what we're seeing is the crumbling. We're seeing dysfunction in politics that we've never seen before. We're seeing, out of control greed, corporate greed, corruption in governments, financial institutions. And so all people are seeing is the crumbling, not realizing it's making way for what's coming. Just like when you bulldoze your old house that's just no good anymore, it's rotten to the core. You can't patch it up. If you don't know the new house is coming, well, you're going to be panicking at that point. And some people are panicking, but
Right.
I'm excited about this new world that's coming. It's going to be a chaotic time, but this is what we came down here for. We're the
Yes.
daredevil souls.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
like
feel
to
like
think of,
Oh, go ahead, Leslie. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I was gonna say I like to think of the change kind of like is it somatics or cymatics? I'm not sure the pronunciation exactly on that, but with the sand on the plate and they change the frequency and it,
Makes the
it's
different
all
patterns.
chaotic. Well, I feel like
Mhm.
we're in like the chaotic and the frequencies, it's tuning. We're getting tuned and it's gonna end up being something beautiful, like some beautiful creation
Mm-hmm.
is gonna come of the change. And I don't know if that's like accurate, but I really like the thought.
Yeah.
That's such a good analogy. I'm going to steal it and use it in my future
Oh,
talks with your permission.
oh,
Oh.
sure. I would love that. Honored.
Yeah, I feel like we're all here to help raise the collective consciousness of humanity, to push our civilization towards one of love and, greater prosperity.
Yeah, I mean that's like literally why we're doing what we're doing right now.
Hmm.
I'm just a huge like advocate for raising the frequency, raising the vibration, helping everybody ascend, expand their consciousness, enter the fifth dimension. And I'm just
Yes.
like, yes, I'm glad and grateful to be able to create those ripple effects throughout
Hmm.
the collective. I'm just super excited that we can have that kind of like influence. It is a really big deal if you think about it.
Yeah, and it's very interesting when the frequency of humanity raises. It's going to cause some very interesting things to happen because there's very easy solutions to almost all of our problems and challenges.
Hmm.
Extremely easy, but we're all blinded because fear tends to blind. And the
Yeah.
example that Cryon uses, channeled by Lee Carroll, he says it's like when Kim Jong Un took over from his father,
Okay.
and he wanted to be adored, worshipped.
Mm.
He wanted to stroke his ego. He had a big ego, just like Dad did. And so, what did he do? He tightened the screws. He eliminated enemies. He took even more control of this small country, North Korea. And he couldn't see that he could have had 100 times more what he wanted. A standing ovation every time he walked into the United Nations, his face on the cover of every major newspaper and magazine, going down in history as one of the great men. And he couldn't see the simple solution, and that's to reunite North and South Korea.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And he would have had 100 times more what he wanted. He would have had a much better
Hmm.
life. And the fear blinded him. And so as our frequency raises, we're going to see these easy solutions like, oh, if we just cooperate doing this, I mean, like, here's one. If we get in an argument, instead of picking up guns and knives and killing each other and going to war, let's find a peaceful solution and some compromise. Okay, so now we don't have to spend that $100 million for an F-35 jet fighter or $3 million
Right.
for an Abram tank.
Yep.
I mean, we're
Right.
going to have some efficiency increases once we start cooperating.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited
Yeah,
for it.
it's like it's happening individually and then through the individual changes on, individual person,
Levels.
yes,
Mhm.
it's gonna soak through in each, yeah, like you said, David, each corporation or company, all these, they're gonna have to make the changes too because it's gonna be what everybody's wanting and
Yeah, people will demand it. I mean, it's almost unbelievable when I hear about this stuff from heaven. I just shake my head and say, that's never going to happen, but I believe it's going to. Things like there's going to be advertisements, and they won't be like advertisements today where T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon all say, we've got the nation's largest 5G network. Well, two of you are lying. There'll be honest advertisements, and they'll be advertising based on integrity and compassion. Look how good we treat our customers, especially one has a problem with our good or our service that we're selling. Look how good we take care of it. Look how good we are to our employees, especially those who are facing challenges or a disability or something. Look how careful we are with the environment, and it'll be real. And they're
I
going to
feel
do
like I'm
that because
seeing that
people will
already.
demand it. Yeah, it's beginning already. We're
Mm.
seeing the beginnings of it. Yes.
There's a
Yeah.
focus on love, I think, as well. I'm seeing a lot of love. I feel
Yeah.
like,
I
Yeah.
and
agree
I
with
don't
that.
watch
Yeah.
much TV, but I feel like what I see, the bits that I see, there is something like I see hearts or like, it's in its weird way. I
I
don't
feel
know how
like the
truthful the
divine
companies are, but
feminine.
it's
Oops, sorry. I was gonna say, I feel like the divine feminine is really starting to like show her face a little bit. Like we've been through a very large period of divine masculine
Yeah.
energy, and I feel like with the age of Aquarius and everything that's happening, like the divine feminine is just like sneaking her way in, and like it's gonna soften everything out a little bit, make it less abrasive.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I got some 2 cents to put into that you might want to edit out because it
Okay,
may offend some people. We can go over it if you'd like.
sure.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, go
So,
for it.
you bring up a really good point. So, we have masculine energy and feminine energy, and this
Mhm.
does not mean male and female. Most men have masculine energy dominant. Most women have feminine energy dominant characteristics.
Hmm.
But then there's some that don't. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
Oh
There
yeah.
were questions over his career about, is he gay? No, he wasn't gay, but people assumed he was because he was working with an abundance or a majority of feminine energy. Why? Because he needed to connect with children. It was part of his duty here on earth.
Mm.
And so before recorded history, feminine energy was dominant on planet Earth.
Mm.
And it was because they were the givers of life. They were more connected to the divine. That's just the nature of the feminine energy.
Mhm.
And the men in the society were treated like, grunts to do the lifting or for breeding stock. And of course, they rebelled. And if you have an overabundance of female energy, you're going to get stagnation. If you have an overabundance of male energy, you're going to get environmental disasters and war.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so we switched from an overabundance of female to an overabundance of male, and the men took charge. And what did we have? We had violence and wars and environmental destruction,
Yep.
Yeah.
which was not prevalent when female energy. And so now we're coming back into balance. So the female energy is coming up. We're
Mm.
still out of balance, but thank goodness, we're making the transition to a balanced energy. And we're going to have some masculine characteristics and some feminine, but it won't be, males dominating like it has been for at least, 12,000 years.
I'm
Yeah.
looking
It's going to be
forward
a
to that
painful transition.
balance.
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to that balance for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So am I. I mean, think about it, because if women were in charge of the planet or they had half the say, they would not send their sons and daughters to die on the battlefield.
No,
That wouldn't happen if they
no,
were running the
absolutely
planet.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I find synchronistic about what we're talking about right now is that indigenous cultures were mostly run by females, and they have a very nurturing nature when it comes to nature. And I feel like the divine wisdom
Hmm.
of those people, of that culture, of that community is also rising to the surface lately. And I feel like their culture is going to help the rest of us, embrace that same mindset and same
Yeah.
way to operate and the same way to go through life. Like rather than going through life and just domineering everything on earth, you embrace it as part of yourself because it literally is.
Mm. Yes. And, I see a lot of balance when I look at indigenous cultures, a balance
Yes.
between masculine and feminine that we do not have. So, for
Right.
instance, the male energy is kind of like the dominant organizer, alpha male type. So, generally, you'd have a male leader of the tribe, and then his wife was, or you had a shaman who was a woman.
Hmm.
And the leader of the tribe always went to the shaman, and the shaman's got the divine connection, female energy, and she would advise the leader. And the tribal leader always took what she said in how he implemented it. But it wasn't one running the other, it was a partnership between the male and the female.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. I think we definitely need to get back to that for sure.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm.
And we will. It'll
Yeah.
take time, but we will.
Yeah.
And another thing that's rising to the surface due to all the things that we just mentioned is the rise of plant medicine. There's a lot of people talking about going on different journeys, communing with different type of plant medicine, having these like
Hmm.
literal breakthroughs, and the lessons that come from those breakthroughs, I feel like are going to totally embrace the 5D aspect that we're headed towards. What's your opinion on that?
Yes. A lot of plant medicines and, for instance, psychedelics tend to shut down the conscious mind. And so then the human being is 100% communicating through the pituitary gland, uh, intuition. and it's like a shortcut to seeing how we should be. And so they have their place. You know, one of the near-death experiences I heard was from a guy who took 1,000 hits of LSD, and his
Jesus
spirit left his
Christmas.
body,
Oh my
and it
God.
was the same as every other near-death experience I've heard, only he didn't experience a physical death, but his spirit left his body. He got to heaven. He spoke with a few angelic beings. They said, "Hey, we're glad to see you." They had a nice little talk, and they said, "Okay, but we don't want you doing that again. You know, that's not good for you."
Mm-hmm.
And they sent him back, and that was, you know, I think that is a sign that there is validity to indigenous cultures using psychedelics to
Yes,
have spiritual experiences, as entheogens.
absolutely. And there's a wide variety of medicines that people can work with, you know. I mean, there's ayahuasca, there's
Psilocybin.
psilocybin,
Hmm.
yeah, there's quite a few different
Iboga.
avenues.
DMT.
Mhm. Mhm. And I really appreciate how psilocybin is being studied lately, specifically to treat the symptoms of people with PTSD. I don't think, like, you know, most people, when they hear psilocybin, they're like, oh, those silly trippers, they're just trying to, you know, make tie-dye walls or whatever. And it's like, no,
No.
it creates new neural pathways in your brain, and it allows you to literally, like, if you had a bad habit, let's say you had a bad habit stuck in the middle of the road, psilocybin will allow you to, like, create new roads, not just one little detour. It'll give you like 5 or 6 different
New
options, and all of a
pathways. Yeah.
sudden you have this new expansion and this new way of working through things.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate that it's being used to help people with PTSD, because that's no joke.
Yeah, and microdosing at that, it's not even necessary to, but you can do the full journey or you can
Hmm.
take the microdose route,
Hmm.
Yeah.
which is also healing and still creates new pathways and all that. So.
Yeah, like you said a minute ago, David. It's like each one of those medicines has its own place, right?
Hmm.
And it should be used in a responsible way and not
Right.
just used as a party drug. These are actual plant medicines,
Correct.
that you should respect before you just take them.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's making me think of what Terrence McKenna said, when somebody was asking him, because, you know, Terrence McKenna is like the freaking godfather of mushrooms. Let's just say it
Yeah,
say it bluntly.
right.
But somebody asked him, like, you know, how come you're not doing as many mushroom journeys as you did in the past? And he's like, well, because I got the message. It's like when someone calls you on the phone and you have your conversation, you don't stay on the phone in silence. Eventually you hang up, right? So same thing when you're working with plant medicines. It's like once you get the downloads and you
Hmm.
receive the lessons and you understand what the message and the lesson is behind it, you don't have to keep picking up the phone. You could, you know what I mean? It's like,
Well, yeah, you stay in the university for as long as you need to, not for the rest of your life. There's a place when you kind of graduate, and certainly, at least in terms of personal lessons, one of them that's for me was that nature's alive. It's every bit as alive as I am, and
Yeah.
every
right.
bit as right to live. And I
Yes.
was treating nature like it was a resource. It's something to be used for my benefit. Natural resources,
Mm-hmm.
and we're supposed to be living in harmony with nature,
Yep.
not sort of kicking it around and doing what we want with it. And so that's some of the lessons that we're learning right now. And we can see our whole, agriculture and food stream kind of screaming out at us with
Yeah.
these diseases that are popping up and the, mad cow disease. That's Mother Nature screaming out saying, stop. You guys
Yes.
have to stop this.
Yeah.
Like,
And
enough
we've
is
got to,
enough, guys. Knock it off.
yeah,
Yeah.
get rid of the GMOs, go back to natural, organic based farming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can do it.
Yeah.
So how do NHI relate to that theme, right? Are they here to help guide us and protect Mother Earth,
How
or
does who relate? I'm sorry.
NHI, non-human intelligence?
Oh,
Like,
okay. I wasn't familiar with that acronym.
oh yeah,
Okay, I'll tell you what I've heard regarding extraterrestrials.
yeah.
So, our galaxy is full of life. We're kind of the key planet in this galaxy right now. All eyes are upon us
Mm,
because what happens on Earth, being the only free will planet where we have the love fear duality like it is here, it affects the rise in consciousness of the galaxy and how it happens, and how fast it happens and how it develops. And so, about 95% are either benevolent or neutral. and there's about 5% that are kind of misbehaving. And I'm sure we've all heard of them. Some of the
Yeah.
reptilians, not all their factions, some of the factions are good. And some species of grays where others are good. Just like in any big group, you'll get good ones and bad ones. But
Yep.
when your consciousness is limited, you'll hit a ceiling of technology where you cannot go beyond.
Okay.
And so the 95% are definitely more powerful, and they kind of do their best to give the 5% who are misbehaving free will, but not to let them get too far out of control. They keep them in check. There's about a dozen species visiting us regularly, 200 or so that come occasionally. The Pleiadians are our cosmic parents.
Mm,
So
okay.
when a civilization learns how to live with each other in peace and harmony and with the environment in harmony, their job then becomes to help seed life on another planet. So the Pleiadians are kind of like our cosmic parents who help seed life here. They're watching over us. If you see a flying saucer, it's not Pleiadian. They've got camouflage. And then the Arcturians are their parents. So that's our cosmic grandparents. And they're part of the Galactic Federation of the Worlds. So they're kind of just watching over Earth. They help us in covert ways. And they were actually, as far as I understand it, they were instrumental in helping us avert our own destruction. So Revelation, Mother Shipton, Nostradamus, that was all going to happen. Those were all prophecies with elements of truth to them about the destruction of the earth.
Mhm.
And we avoided it thanks to a lot of help from above, from heaven, and from our alien friends. So now we're on a path to become an ascended planet, and this new world of love I talk about is coming. And that's my 2 cents on aliens. Yeah.
Love that. Do you
Yeah.
guys think it would be okay to transition to talking about the current status of disclosure, or are you not really in the know about that too much?
I don't know much about it. All I know is
Okay.
that I suspect they're going to be turning their camouflage off. They're not going to just land on the White House lawn.
Mhm.
And once everybody's seen a bunch of them, then they're going to kind of slowly show up to avoid a panic. They've done this before.
Mhm.
You don't do that to a species. They freak out. We freak out if that happened. If they just showed up in mass. Yeah. And that's
Gotcha.
about all I know. I don't.
Okay. All right, Leslie, if
Yeah.
you want to go with a question, that's fine.
Okay. How do NDEs intersect with concepts of karma, reincarnation, and other spiritual beliefs?
Well, there's big overlaps. For instance, my understanding from what I've heard about karma is it's a tool. It's a tool to experience various frequencies. You experience being the wealthy man abusing the poor, and then you experience being the poor who's being abused by the wealthy. And there's a learning that happens in both. So it's not like a revenge thing or something like that. What was the other one you mentioned? Karma and a reincarnation. So I don't like the term reincarnation because that makes it sound like one life after another with nothing in between. So my understanding of it is that we are basically in our heavenly homes, the other side of the veil. And that's our normal state, just like here, our normal state is being at home. And then once in a while, you leave the comfort of your home to go out and have an adventure, whether it's to go for a hike or take a vacation or something like that. And just as human beings enjoy watching a really good movie or reading a really good book, and you really get into it and you're like experiencing it yourself, well, the ultimate of that virtual reality experience is incarnating to a physical life. So from an earthly perspective, we're living this life right now, and then we've had all our past lives and yet to live our future lives. But from the soul's perspective, you're living all your lives at once.
Mm.
And if you added up all the time from all the lifetimes, not just on Earth, but different planets, the average human being is over 1 million years old.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, that's a good way to think of it.
Uh-huh.
I've never thought of it that way before.
Yeah, I don't know if I have either.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have newbies coming to this planet. It's too difficult. It's the most difficult planet in the galaxy in which to incarnate into. It's like the Mount Everest of physical incarnation. So you start on planets that the people there are already advanced. They're kind of living in peaceful utopian societies. And then you kind of work up to Earth, which is the most difficult here. And it's the third most difficult in the universe.
Oh, is
So
it?
if you're here, you're already an advanced soul.
Wow.
You're doing great.
Okay.
I
What
never
is
heard this before.
what do you think why are we here? The purpose,
Well, it turns out that consciousness changes and grows and learns through contrast. So unless there's a tiny part of creation having a choice and experiencing the opposite, the bubble of love, and that's just an analogy, there's not some bubble, but the bubble of love of heaven couldn't exist. The growth of creation would cease. And so we're an instrumental part of the growth of the fractal of God by coming
lines
down
with
here
a
and
lot.
incarnating. Yeah, we're doing the
Mhm.
tough work of creation. And so we're kind of honored up there in heaven. And well, everybody is honored for their unique job and contribution, but we're doing a tough one. Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
that. I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
If somebody in our audience has never listened to an NDE story before and they don't know anything about this, what can you share with them? Like, what would you say is the most profound thing that you've learned or seen or heard, whatever you want to say, from studying all these different NDEs? Like, what's the most profound thing that is like a commonality that you've really gathered from all of them?
The easiest question in the world. Love.
Okay.
The mind of God is not the mind of a human being. It is pure light, love, and compassion. It does not have anger or judgment or even expectation like we do. It just loves. And this is a love that all near-death experiencers speak about who've had positive NDEs, and it's about over 95%. And they talk about things like, they say, imagine the 100 happiest moments of your life and put them all into one moment. You still don't come close. One guy said, think of the strongest love you've ever felt. Multiply that by 500 or 1,000, and that's what it feels like. It's a
Wow.
love so strong that even the word love is completely inadequate to describe it. And battle-hardened soldiers with big muscles and tattoos, sometimes when they talk about the love of heaven, they cry.
Wow.
And
It's powerful.
love is the glue of the universe. It's what we're made of. We're extensions of the love of creation, of the love of God. And it's all about love.
Love it.
I love that.
Yes.
I don't mean to be
That leads me
punny, but
into this question I wanted to ask was, what are your hopes for the future of NDE research, and how do you envision it shaping our understanding of spirituality and the human experience?
Well, I think NDE research is going to continue to accelerate. I think we just had the first major university do a study on it. I saw that in the news. And so that's going to continue to accelerate. It's going to become more accepted as time goes on. So if you told your doctor about your NDE 100 years ago, 1924, they would put you in a mental institution.
I was just thinking lobotomy.
Yep. As a matter of fact,
Not
one
to put a joke
testimony-
on that, but that's what I was thinking.
One testimony I recently heard from 1972, her NDE was 1972, not the testimony. She was giving birth in the hospital, died, they revived her, and, she came out and she told her doctor all about her near-death experience. 3 weeks and this mandatory psychiatric evaluation.
Wow.
Yes, but it's
awful.
becoming more accepted now. It's becoming so accepted that they're even joking about it in movies, Go towards the light.
Yeah.
Joke about it, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
And it is really, I think, the best first clue to who we are. We're going to learn a lot more without near-death experiences as we evolve, as our consciousness evolves, and we come to the realization that we're all connected. When you harm another human being, you harm yourself. When you help another, you help yourself.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. And so as it becomes more accepted, it's eventually going to become a basic fact of life that, this is what we do. We're these eternal beings of energy, part of the created benevolent source we call God. And we express ourselves in these lower vibrational or higher density realms for the purposes of growth of creation. And we'll just all know it, and we'll be all doing our work, and then we'll be helping somebody else. Some other planet's going to take over the job of the most difficult one to incarnate, and they'll be our kids probably, and we'll be watching over them.
Wow.
So
what
you
a
think it
concept.
just goes on, and that's it, to no end, right?
Oh, sure. Well, we see that with our physical lives the way they are. The parents have children, those children grow up and have children, keep going on and on and on. Sure.
Yeah.
As above, so below, right?
As
Yeah,
within,
yeah.
so without,
Yeah.
as the soul, so the
Exactly.
universe.
We are
Amen.
eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience.
Quote
That's
Yeah.
off, quote
In a
off,
nutshell.
quote off.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we just did an interview with our friend Jan, who is an NDE survivor herself.
Yeah. Jan
And
Christensen.
she said something that was so profound. Because I was talking to her about how, a lot of people say that they want to have an NDE so that they can gain all this knowledge and all this feeling of love and connectedness that the people come back with. And she's like, yeah, but you don't have to die to learn how to live. And I was like, whoa, Jan, you just blew my mind for a moment there, girl. Like, oh, wow.
That's so true. It's within us. And of course, a lot of people think they'd want an NDE, and it'd be easier to not have one,
Yeah.
because when you experience pure perfection, pure joy, pure bliss, and to come back here,
I
it's
know.
hell by comparison. It is not easy. A lot of them become severely depressed. Some have tried to commit suicide again.
Yeah.
Just to get back there, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Only to be told, that's not something we do up here. That's a no-no. Yeah. So
Forgive me for, again, sometimes I make jokes at inappropriate times, but I'm thinking of that movie, A Christmas Story, where the two brothers go up to visit Santa Claus, and then Santa Claus like kicks that one brother down the slide, and he's like, ho, 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 and the kid's like, ah! I'm just picturing like a soul that's trying to go
Oh.
back to heaven and stay there, and God's like, nope, sorry, ho, 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 down the hole you go. I probably have to edit that out, but I just thought it was funny.
That's funny.
Sorry, guys.
I love it. What are your thoughts on reality as far as like, there's theories of a simulation or, mental universe and all this. So you seem to have a pretty good idea of like what I guess your, I don't know, theory of everything is, but like if you could speak on that, I don't know if that's too off.
no, not
Great.
at all. And
Okay.
to say like it's simulated reality, I don't like that term. I can understand how it applies, but I prefer a more accurate term, and there are none as far as I know. But I'll try and explain it with an analogy that I've given before.
Okay.
So imagine there's this engineer. No such engineer exists, but we're just going to pretend here. And it's the 1950s or whenever, and he gets out of school and starts studying, and he gets a job at Disneyland, head engineer, as they're constructing Disneyland. So he designs, all the rides. He knows every nut and bolt. He works there his whole life, from his 20s till his 80s. And now he's an 85-year-old man at Disneyland, spent his whole life. He knows every schedule, every ride, every person, every operation, everything.
Mhm.
What if he goes to Disneyland? He's retired now. He goes to Disneyland with his family. He enjoys it. But, is he learning anything new if he goes in a different reality to Disneyland? Yes. Let's say he could, just for one day, put himself into the consciousness of a 10-year-old child and completely forget everything about Disneyland. So two things: limits his consciousness and has amnesia.
The veil.
And he goes to Disneyland and spends a day as a 10-year-old child exploring Disneyland for the first time. And at the end of the day, he's himself again, but he's got this memory of what he just did that day. And that's special, isn't it? He didn't learn anything new. It was experiential learning. And that's what we do down here.
Hmm.
Yeah, we call it Earth School, like the Dolores Cannon.
Uh-huh.
All that. So we speak on that
Mhm.
or consider it as a school, I guess, basically for the most part. But yeah, I had something to say behind that, but I lost it. So
Well, so the way it works is we come down here and we're not really in a simulated reality. This is real. It's just like a dream is real. Your mind is making things up. It's creating this story, and you're experiencing your own creation as you
yeah,
create it.
like a
That's
mental
what we're doing.
universe. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a mental universe. And like
So we're
we're
doing
all
it this.
part of the one mind of source or the one mind.
Yeah. So we're all part of
Sprinkle
that
out.
source. And as long as we're connected to that, we can't have that experience the child has.
Mm.
Would
So
you say that we're like many like many gods? And a lot of people will like not like me saying that. I guess that one of my questions does revolve around, people and family. Like when we talk like we're talking now, we get judged and criticized for speaking like that, and like we're talking something evil or something, just because of beliefs that are ingrained into, generations, I guess. But I'm going kind of all over the place right now. I don't even know where I was going with that, but
Are
I
we
feel
God?
like
Yeah, calling
Yes.
ourselves God. I think that's what
yeah,
that's what
like
you're where you're
mini
headed.
gods, or like we're baby gods learning here. Is that
Or fractals of God.
There's
like,
a
Yeah.
is
giant
this
tree.
a school for that? Like, or is it just like what you said to add for the whole, did you say the whole universe or the whole the whole system?
We're
Everything.
part of all that is. So a good analogy would be this. Let's say you're a tree. You're
Okay.
the consciousness of a tree. Now, to get to know yourself, you're going to have to limit your consciousness to one little perspective. So you're going to take your consciousness, you're going to bring it way down this trunk and up this branch and all the way to the top, and you're going to put yourself in one leaf. And then you're going to look at the rest. And it doesn't matter where you go. Okay, I'm going to be halfway up the main trunk. I'm going to go over to that branch. No matter where you are on that tree, you're going to be seeing a different portion of you. And that's what we're doing. So, is a drop of water the ocean? Yeah and no. When you limit your consciousness to that one little part of yourself, are you the tree? Yes and no. Hard to describe the super creation, hard to understand with our 3D minds. When we get there, when we exit this life, when you wake up from the dream, you go, oh, yes, of course. Now I remember how people say, how could I have forgotten this simple, beautiful, elegant plan of creation? They laugh about it, that they forgot about it, but we don't know what
Mm.
it is down here.
I find it super appropriate that in your background you have a tree of life on your door, and the tapestry behind you has a tree with leaves on it also, that I was looking at as you were talking
Yeah,
about
me
being a
too.
leaf. Love that.
Yeah, on the way here, we're traveling to see the eclipse. So we'll be in the center of that tomorrow. I know, David, you said you will be too. So that's exciting to look forward to. But I noticed a license plate. I see license plates. And angel numbers, synchronicities and all that. So I saw 666, and I was listening to one of your videos in the car, trying to do my homework before coming to do this. And as soon as I pointed to 666 and I said, ooh, 666. And you said something about 6 years of something. But as soon as you said six, I was saying 666. And I was like, oh my God.
Synchronicity.
I would love it. I was like, synchronicity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a truck passes and it was like, it said light. Like, just that's all it said. It was like light with this emblem of a star or something. I don't know. I was like,
Signs. It's all signs.
sometimes I go too far, but yeah, I said I was gonna tell. I was like, I gotta tell him about that.
Yeah, right.
Can I take this opportunity to ask you about the book that just came out last month, Death? Because that one has multiple authors. Is it 13 different authors? Is that right?
13 or 14, I can't remember, but yeah.
Well, I
So I
think that's
wrote the forward and the intro chapter, and then it was, I think, 13 individual near-death experiences.
That's so cool, because when I looked at the list of authors, Megan Brown is on there, and we've spoken with her
Her
a few
twice.
times now.
Oh,
So I
okay,
feel like we
wow.
have a connection there. And then also Amira May, who is also on there. We have a scheduled appointment with her later on in this month to speak with her.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Amira was one of the founders of the Near Death Institute that I serve as a board member on. So we just got going and published our first book, and we're going to plans to publish more. And
Tell us about the book.
the book is called Death. It's on Amazon, and it's just basically a collage of individual stories, and they're all very unique and different. Heaven will give the individual person having a near-death experience the NDE they need and the one they're going to feel comfortable with, unless the NDE they need is one to make them feel uncomfortable. Proverbs says sometimes it takes a painful experience to make us change our ways. And so sometimes the soul will choose a negative experience. That doesn't happen too often. It's about 3% of the NDEs I've heard are negative.
Do you
Oh,
think
But
it's
these were
the
all
state of
positive
mind?
NDEs in the book. So
how many
no
are in
scary
there?
ones. I think 13, 12 or
13.
13.
Okay.
Oh, hence how many authors.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a great way for people to be introduced to near-death experiences and have like multiple things at their fingertips to just see all the different things that happen and the correlations between, you know, and all that. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed the book. It was, I've probably read, I don't know, 40 or 50 near-death experience books, and it was definitely one of the better ones I've read.
David, can we ask you about the spiritual counseling services that you offer? Can you share with our audience, like, what that entails? You know, like, if somebody wants to sign up for one with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, it's generally a 1 to 2 hour session, and it's for people who have had a near-death experience or out-of-body experiences or just a spiritual awakening. You know, going through a spiritual awakening can be really difficult. You know, you tend to change jobs, you lose some friends, maybe your
Get
family's not as
divorced.
close. You kind of feel disconnected, and it can be tough. So that's what I do counseling for. And then I have a program for people who have financial difficulties. They can sign up for a discounted session if they send me an email. So
That
Okay.
is, I do have a question that probably follows with that, but what advice could you give others going through a spiritual awakening process and their friends and family just don't understand and might be judgmental?
yeah,
Is that judgmental or critical of their experience and the new mindset, you know?
yeah. So I had a friend with a nephew, just little kid. I think it was 3 or 4 years old, and he had seen that movie Chucky. You know, and he was deathly afraid of Chucky.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you know, mention Chucky's name, he freaked out. Well, some people, they're not ready to hear this stuff. They're not ready to hear the higher truth. It's going to make them feel uncomfortable. And it took me a long time to learn that love does not try and convince anybody else to believe what I believe. Love does not, in general, intentionally make other people feel uncomfortable. And so if I talk to a Christian, I talk to them from their consciousness because that's the most loving thing to do. You know, if I'm going to try and get a concept across, I'm going to quote Bible verses, or I'm going to say Jesus said this. You know, I'm going to, if I'm talking with an atheist, I talk about the importance of love and cooperation in society and the importance of forgiveness and how it's good for your health. And
Sure.
so the best advice I ever got was, and I had this problem to the max. Advice from Lee Carroll: stop being weird. You know,
Right?
There's
Shout out
nothing with keeping
Cryon.
that stuff to yourself. So the best advice I have, for instance, for people who've had near-death experiences or spiritual awakenings is take the lessons of love and kindness and compassion and forgiveness and gentleness that you have learned and share that with friends and family and keep the rest to yourself.
Hmm.
Or to, you know, friends that are open to that kind of thing, or, for a conversation like this.
That
Because
is great
yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning that lesson of where to, draw the line.
Can you ask your famous question? I feel like this is a
Oh,
perfect time.
yeah. What's your greatest hope for the future of humanity?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
We love when people are like, "Ooh, wait a minute, I need to
Yeah.
think now."
I think my greatest hope is that we go through this transition, this great awakening smoothly.
Okay.
Maybe that comes from a little bit of fear that the faster you do something, the more chaotic it is. If I say you have 3 years to build a house, it's going to be nice and relaxing. If I say you have 3 days, you can do it, but it's not going to be fun. And we're moving very fast. And so I am hoping that people will maintain their peace and joy in difficult circumstances. And we've been seeing them for a while now.
I feel
That's
like
my
what we're
biggest.
doing is going to help that smooth transition.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Well, sure, there's
It's
light workers here. There's always leaders that, it doesn't mean we're superior or anything. We've just been around longer, just
Yeah.
like the old plumber, he's the one who's going to teach the younger ones. So there's quite a few light workers on the planet, and it is our job to kind of be the guiding advice to those who are kind of lost as the transition takes place. There's all this division, there's all this scary stuff on the news, and we
Constantly.
have to be the voices of calm and the voice of reason and the voice of compassion always,
Yeah. Those are great,
and unity.
great words of advice. Definitely.
All right, so David, I have an awesome question for you. What advice would you have for someone that's trying to grow spiritually?
Well, that is a great question. Now, most of the people who would watch a channel like this are generally high consciousness people who are spiritually awake or awakening. And they're already doing a lot of the stuff that helps us grow. They're fostering love and kindness and forgiveness, gentleness, self control. They're meditating. Maybe they're eating right. Maybe they're, doing energy work of some kind, chakra balancing or something like that. We're, People who watch a channel like this, they're aware of all the things that we can do. But there's a big one that a lot of us miss.
What's that?
We are creator gods. And a lot of people think it's like, a cosmic Santa Claus. Well, Jimmy's been bad, so he's going to get punished. But Susie, she's been good, so she's going to get rewarded. No, this energy in the universe that responds to our desire to create responds based on what we focus on. So that whether we're fearing something or having love towards something, it's going to say, oh, that's the human being's focusing on that.
Mm,
That's what I'll give it, the human being. It doesn't know. And so we have to shrink our worlds. If we're serious, there's one thing missing from a lot of spiritual people, and I'm still working on this myself, and that is we have to shrink our world down. The news is a well-crafted fear report. You got to
yeah.
turn off the news. You got to turn off any social media that's talking about the rest of the world. You got to shrink your world down to, my world is the people I come in contact with every day.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. I don't hear about it. It was 2 months into the war with Ukraine and Russia when I heard about it. It was a week after the presidential election when I found out who was president.
Okay.
So
So you really
you
don't watch
shrink
it.
your world down, and
Mhm.
it's amazing because the news is a report, and it brings the worst of the worst of the worst behavior of 8 billion people and brings it into the living room. And so you have to
Yeah.
Yep.
disconnect yourself from the frequency of chaos and drama and negativity and division and fear of all kind, and it's amazing how much your life will change. Try a 30-day experiment. No news, no knowing what's going on in the rest of the world, except for hearing it secondhand. Don't search on YouTube. Don't watch the news. Don't go to any social media. Turn off your phone every now and then, put it on airplane mode, go for a walk in the park. Shrink your world. It's amazing how much peace and joy comes into your life and how quickly it happens.
Great advice.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. I mean,
Because that is completely true. Go ahead. I won't cut you
when
off.
I turned off the news, and separated myself from that fear narrative,
Yeah.
it was so transformational. I mean, literally almost overnight, it's like everything just started being better. I
Yeah.
wasn't always scared. I wasn't always walking around fearful.
I
Right.
stopped watching the news a long time ago too, and like my mom would call me up and be like, "Allison, do you have toilet paper and water for the hurricane that's coming?" And I'm like, "What hurricane, Ma?" She's like, "What do you mean, what hurricane?" And then,
Yeah.
and then she gets mad at me because like I don't know what's going on. I'm like, "Ma, that doesn't exist in my awareness. It's just, I look at it like my energy is a currency and I'm going to spend it wisely. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I'm not going to spend my money or spend my currency on things that are going to make me feel bad. I really started paying attention to how things make me feel. Like you have to make sure that you're feeding yourself a clean diet. And that's not just related to food. Is food a huge aspect of that? Absolutely. But what you listen to also is feeding your subconscious. What you
Mhm.
watch, the images that come across the screen at a constant rate all the time,
Yeah.
that is something that you're feeding your consciousness. The energy of the people that you surround yourself with,
Yes.
that's another
Mhm.
form of feeding your subconscious. So when you clean all of that up, you feel the difference.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I took it to
amazing.
the extreme. It's not just the news. I don't watch like movies that are low vibrational. I don't listen to certain music that I might have listened to in my past, like heavy metal, like all that. I don't do any of that.
I also pay a lot of attention to the music that I listen to now. Like I just make sure to always have good music playing in my house throughout the day, like 432 hertz music, just something that's going to bring calmness to the atmosphere. We burn a lot of incense in this house. We have
Yeah.
sound bowls,
Loving.
we just try to bring in the high vibes and keep them here, like I'm constantly saging the house. All right, cool. So enough about
Yeah.
me. David, can you please tell our audience where they could find you?
You can go to godtookmyclothes.com and my email address is there. And there's a link to my spiritual counseling. And then there's a free 2-chapter preview of the book. And I haven't published the book in Spanish yet, so no publisher has the rights. So I'm giving the entire book in Spanish away for free. And you can download that at godtookmyclothes.com.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow.
And I will have the links to all of those things down in the video description box below. So please make sure to check that out. And for our audience that is here, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everybody that's co-hosting. Thank you, David, for being a guest. Please do us a favor, smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop us a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
David. Thank you, Allie and Justin.
Absolutely.
Thank you for co-hosting with us again. And thank you, David, for being here. It was an excellent conversation. I look forward to
I
talking
really
to you in the
enjoyed it.
future.
So I just want to say thank you so much. For real,
Yeah,
thank you so
for
much.
joining us.
Yeah, it's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
being here. Thanks for the invite. I'll be more awake next time.
Okay.
you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Love you guys.
All right.
Bye.
All right.
Much love.
Peace.
And
And
namaste.
namaste.